Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the big match preview on Loaded Mag NUFC. We are here again, although it is a Friday night. Happy Friday to everyone. Hope everyone's kicking off for the weekend in style, and hopefully you'll all join us for this big match preview. Massive game against Aston Villa at St James's Park. Chris, how are you, fella? How are you on this fine Friday?
Good, mate, yeah. Busy day in work, as always. I say that all the time, don't I? So, yeah, really busy in work today. And, yeah, I'll be playing football. I've taken up football on a Friday evening now. And our Callum, I'm just glancing at him now. He's going to be playing tonight. So yeah, looking forward to that. And, yeah, a good way, a little bit of away days, a little bit of footy, good way to start the weekend, I would say. And then, of course, when I get home, it's all about Traitors Final, isn't it, Pete?
Big Traitors Final night tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah. Big. How are you? You all right?
Yeah, I've been a bit under the weather the last couple of days, got to be honest. I won't bore you all with the details about it, but hopefully the next couple of days I'll feel better. And hopefully on Sunday, they'll give me a reason to feel better. That's the important thing. But, welcome to everyone in the chat. Welcome to everyone that's following this show tonight on YouTube and on X. If you're on X, come over and join on YouTube. Thank you for watching. And of course, click that like button. And if you are new to the channel, consider subscribing as well. We're going to get straight into it. And look, these match previews are such a joy to discuss because we have fantastic opposition guests. And it's a pleasure to welcome back in. And if you watch Top Table Talk, you'll know exactly who this man is. It's a pleasure to welcome in Rich from the Villa Park Pod. He's the spy in Newcastle that's looking to take us down on Sunday. So if you feel like you want to boo to the TV or the phone screen, feel free to do so. Let's get him in. How you doing, Rich?
I'm well, boys. Thanks for the intro. Much appreciated. And I know I'm going out with some of the Villa boys tomorrow night, Saturday night. But that music made me want to go out tonight. That's class, that intro.
Yeah, mixed it up. A few people have said like the Goosebumps one, they want it back. But it's always good to try something new. And
you got to mix it up. Yeah,
absolutely. Look, Rich, I'm just going to get straight into it with Villa. Before we talk about last night and the game on Sunday, there has been a little bit of breaking news for you boys today. You have seemingly agreed a deal to bring this man back. Tammy Abraham, as we got the Here We Go, has been reported. David Ornstein has reported as well that he's currently on his way to the UK to complete his transfer from Besiktas to Villa. Permanent deal, 21 million euros with Yasin Özkan involved in the deal. 4.5-year contract. Just want to get your thoughts on that breaking news for you guys. Obviously, it's with your club previously. Are you happy with that deal? Is it a deal that you personally wanted?
I am happy with it. It's got one of those things where I was just about to sort of break out into the Tammy Abraham song, and then I was like, no, let's not do that. And then I was thinking, is it 6 years too late? Because, he was so good for us in that 2018-2019 season.
Yeah.
That we got promoted from the Championship on loan from Chelsea. And I think it's something like 27 goals or something that season, something crazy like that. And he was brilliant for us, and that was as a 21, 22-year-old, learning his trade. And then he's kind of had a mixed time, hasn't he, since then? He went back to Chelsea because of that season at Villa, and I think he did really well for a couple of seasons, got Chelsea into the Champions League, and then it was a bit of a mixed time for him, wasn't it? And he hasn't quite settled in Italy. He's had one or two sort of decent spells. Then he's been out with injury. But I think for what Villa need right now, and for the experience that he already has of the club, of the Premier League, albeit a few years ago, I think he'll be he should be a real canny signing, and someone who isn't the same as Watkins, isn't the same to someone that we've had previously, and can definitely be a different option, can play up front on his own, can play up front alongside Watkins, can come on off the bench and cause a bit of havoc. There's been so many times in games this season where, or even games over the last few years with Villa, you know, if you're 15, 20 minutes to go, you kind of want that striker to come on and you can just, you know, when you want to just put balls into the box and you're going to try and fight for second balls or something, could make it difficult for the defenders. Like Everton was a perfect example of that type of game on Sunday, where it didn't need anything pretty and Villa were getting more and more frustrated. It just needed someone to make it difficult for the two centre-backs. And I feel like Tammy do that. So I think there's a lot of positives in it. You know, there's obviously a little bit of has his time away from the Premier League meant that he's been a bit out of sight, out of mind, and you're not quite sure what you're getting. But I think the benefits outweigh the drawbacks for me.
Yeah, I can see. Like normally people would be like super excited about it, but I can see why you're sort of proceeding with a little bit of caution with regards to the deal. It does kind of make sense. But like Chris, from your perspective, I wasn't sure if you're aware of the Tammy Abraham's news broke today. So just your thoughts. I don't believe, and Rich, just correct me if I'm right, I don't believe he'll be available for the game Sunday because I think it was the 12 o'clock deadline.
Yeah, I doubt it. I think he's flying over. Well, that message from Ornstein earlier on was saying he was flying over as we speak. So I would imagine a medical will be done tonight, tomorrow, and then he'll be training on Monday, but not ready to play on Sunday. No.
So, you know, obviously Tammy Abraham signed for Villa, thinking ahead for the season. Good deal for them in your eyes, Chris? Good piece of business?
Yeah, absolutely. As Rich said, you know, someone who has got Premier League experience, only 28 years old. And boys, what does 21 million euros get you these days? Like that's cheap. That is really, really cheap. What's that, like 17, 18 million? For somebody who knows the league inside out, is a handful. He's a big lad, isn't he? He's got good feet. And like you said, Rich, it just provides another option. It's just a player to bring in as another option for me. And I maybe this is me being a bit harsh, Rich, I don't know, but he almost feels like the perfect foil, the perfect second striker. So he'd be somebody, I imagine, who, you know, won't expect to come in and be the main guy, the main one on the team sheet. He's somebody who's on the bench and quite happy to like play that squad role. Obviously, if you want him to rest Watkins, you know, he can come in, absolutely. But he's of that required standard where you wouldn't be going, oh God, Tammy Abraham starting. So I actually think it's a really, really smart signing. I like it, mate. I think it's decent. I know a few people in the chat are suggesting maybe otherwise, but like I say, what does 21 million euros get you these days? I think it's a good signing.
Yeah, I just think I'm not underwhelmed by it at all. I think it's a good, solid signing, and you know, I guess it shows a slight change in direction with Unai because you know he's wanted Tammy apparently for a long time. He's wanted this type of striker for a long time. Like he was after Asula for a long time. You know, he nearly got him in the summer. You know, Abraham's, I would say, definitely more refined than Asula. So he's got more experience, but he's wanted and probably slightly different type of striker because Tammy's actually in the box. He's very, very good finisher. He's not actually as sort of. He might have filled out. He might be much stronger now. But when he was with Villa like years ago, he'd be, you know, that was an area of his game where he probably needed to work on, like that target man, that flick on, that kind of strength. Whereas maybe now he's improved in that area. But yeah, we've been after that type of striker for a while. And when you let Daniel Marlon go, who's got that sort of direct sort of pace and just head down, goes for goal, bit of a bulldog type player, letting him go and bringing Tammy Abraham in obviously shows a different style of player that he wants. So yeah, it's a good signing for me. I did a bit of a video on, because I think we were interested in Mateta, and I did a bit of a video as to like which one I would prefer, and it was really difficult to say because you know Mateta's obviously got that recent Premier League experience and he's a real handful at times, but he misses ridiculous amount of chances. So I think I lent slightly more towards the Tammy side as well with it. So yeah, it's a good signing for me. It is a good signing, and a good solid signing.
I think the only thing that maybe is the cautious part of the deal is the fact that he's had an ACL injury, the fact that he's had an injury since he's been away at other clubs, and so therefore it is one of those things where you are sort of taking a risk. He has a particularly saw at Roma. He did spend quite a bit of time on the bench and was coming off and impacting games. And actually, that probably fits quite nicely to Villa. Because if you're going with Watkins, he is a good player to come off the bench to be that target man. But you are absolutely adding something different to that. A player that's also back in the squad, coming back and joined you, is this man, and Leon Bailey has come back from his loan from Roma, been called back, and I think Unai Emery said today that he's actually going to be in the squad for the game on Sunday. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rich.
Yeah, no, that's right, and one of my favourite players, Leon. I love my Jamaican brother. So yeah, I didn't want him to go in the first place. I've always defended Leon. I've always liked him, and I hope that we kind of get that Leon Bailey from a couple of seasons ago when he was up there with the best wingers in the league. And if we can get you're talking 4 goals and 4 assists, 4 or 5 assists. If we can get that out of him in the last 16 games of the season, I'll be absolutely buzzing with that. He's got that. If he can get that bit of swagger back in his game, if he can start beating players, right and left, I'll be absolutely buzzing. If we get that inconsistent Leon Bailey, which you can get from wingers. I mean, I hear it with you guys all the time with Murphy and Gordon, and Harvey Barnes is on absolute fire at the minute. But even there's been times with him, so we know what it's like with wide men. We know what it's like with wingers. But if we can get him confident and firing, we've got a brilliant player for the second half of the season. And Evan Gesson's really struggled with regards to settling in at Villa, and just I don't think anyone quite knows where he's playing and what he should be doing and what he's bringing to the team. Whereas I think with Bailey, we know what he can bring to the team. It's just about, can he do it? So I'm actually buzzing. Whether he'll play much of a part on Sunday remains to be seen, but it's good to have him about.
I've always been a real big fan of Leon Bailey. I was surprised that you loaned him out, to be honest, Rich. And correct me if I'm wrong, but him and Diaby come from the same club, didn't they? So Diaby, I think, were they both at Leverkusen, I want to say?
Yeah. And that one season, mate, they linked up brilliantly. And I think that was such a shame that for whatever reason Diaby went. That season we qualified for the Champions League. And for whatever reason Diaby went. And then we just lost a little bit of consistency from Leon Bailey last season. He played, he played. The problem was we limped over the line that season when we finished 4th, and he was playing pretty much on one leg. Like he was like walking wounded, and we just managed to stumble over the line to the Champions League. And I get a feeling that affected him the season after. We don't know what happens. You've probably had the same thing with some of your players who've played through injuries, played through the pain barrier. And you're going, why can't they do the running that they were doing 3 months ago? But they've obviously put their body through something that's not meant to have. And I think that affected him last season a bit. So hopefully he's, a bit of Italian weather, bit of Italian food and all that he might have come back stronger.
Maybe. Well, absolutely, because he is a talented player. He is absolutely talented. But I remember a couple of years ago when you got Champions League, we played you. We were going through a horrible form, and we played you at Villa Park. We ended up winning that day. I think we might have won 2-1 or 3-1.
3-1 it was. 3-1, yeah.
I remember in the second half, Bailey come off the bench, and I think he scored the goal to make it 3-1. And he was absolutely just he was dynamite. He was causing this. He was the only one in your team that was causing his problems. And it got to the point where it was like the last 15 minutes of the game, it was just give the ball to Bailey and see if he can make something happen. And that's just that's kind of.
I remember it was Dan Burn was at left back, wasn't he? And like he was just eating up anything that was coming to him. And then we went 3-0 down. And I think Unai just thought, sod this. And then Bailey came on and absolutely ruined him for like 3 or 4 times. I think it was Watkins that scored, but then Bailey had a chance to score, and it would have made it 3-2. And then I think Eddie Howe made the correct choice and went, right, let's get Dan Burn off. And then it kind of shut him down after that. But yeah, that's what you can get with Bailey, and particularly in home games. Away games again is difficult for wingers, isn't it? Because you're just not going to get the ball as much as you would at home. You're not going to have that attacking threat as you do generally in home games. So I'm just I think he can come in and contribute. That's what we want, and to have an extra body in the squad is good.
Absolutely. Talking of your recent form, well, we might get to that in a second. But talk about recent form. Obviously, the last game in the Premier League didn't go the way I think most people would have expected it to. The 1-0 loss to Everton at home at Villa Park. I'll be honest, I actually thought Everton played well. I thought they defended well. I thought they were good on the attack. I thought they were full value for their win. And then you've hit back in the Europa League yesterday away at Fenerbahce. I did watch the game. I thought you played well and were really good, sort of on the counter yourselves in the transitions. What are your thoughts after those 2 games? What are your thoughts about Aston Villa going into this game at St James's Park? I know we were talking off air about Villa's history at St James's Park, but after those 2 results, like, where's your head at with Aston Villa going into this game? Are you really confident still after a brilliant run, or are you just a little bit nervy or not sure what to expect after this?
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because I was saying this. I can't remember who we were saying it to. I think it was before the Crystal Palace away game, and kind of between us, Villa fans. Crystal Palace, Selhurst Park is another ground, and Oliver Glasner was another manager who Unai Emery just doesn't do well against. He hasn't beaten him, and Selhurst Park we just hardly ever win at. And we were like, whatever happens, write that game off. Villa have lost. And then we drew that game 0-0. And we were saying, like, do the players kind of look at records? Do they look at games? Do they look at these grounds and think, oh, well, there's no way we're going to win there? Because some of these players, they've just signed and they've got no idea. They're just going in to play the game. Is it a supporters thing, or is it an actual, kind of psychological thing? So had it been any other team, from a fan perspective, I'm talking about, apart from Newcastle, I'll be like, yeah, this result against Fenerbahce has got us back on the right track. Now we can go into whatever game it is and we'll be buzzing, we're confident. We've got 1 or 2 players that were rested, 1 or 2 players that have got some confidence back. It's good to get legs, minutes in Tyrone Mings' legs, who played really well. Good to get, Martinez has been in and out, but Bizot is doing well in goal, but Martinez probably comes back after a bit of a rest. And Matson came on, but he's had a bit of rest. So there's 1 or 2 players that have been in and around and had a bit of time off. It's Newcastle away, and that's the problem. That's the problem. And I joked to you that, when we talk about title race and stuff, I'd already factored in we'd get beaten off Newcastle. Well, I certainly hadn't factored in we'd get beaten off Everton. So, we kind of need a win if we want to get anywhere near, right, back in sort of a title race conversation. Yeah. I'm just not confident, and that's the problem. Yes, we've got a couple of injuries. Boubacar Kamara's out for the season. McGinn's out for a little while as well. So we have got a couple of injuries, but Onana's back fit now, so he's coming back in. So we've got a good side. We've got a good side, and yes, obviously going away to Fenerbahce, whatever situation that they're in, it's always a tough place to go. So you've got to take confidence from that. But it's going to be a difficult game, and I would certainly take a point right now if you offered it to me. It being Newcastle and the form that you guys are in at home. I know you've been a bit patchy, to say the least, away from home, but certainly at home you've been really good, and a great result for you guys in midweek as well. You've got to take confidence from that. So whatever happens, it's going to be a difficult game, and That's the only thing I would say at the minute in the Premier League form, specifically for Villa. That would be 3 games without a win. You know, even if we got a draw, Palace, Everton, Newcastle, it's all tough games in their own right. But you know, we do really need a win if we want to keep in the conversation. But I'd certainly take a point if I was being really sensible with it.
Chris, obviously, from our perspective, you know, our home form has been very, very good. I think it's 7 or 8 wins in the Premier League this season. Of the home games we've played so far, so really, really strong form. Looking at this game and looking at where Villa are right now, obviously, as I mentioned to Rich, lost to Everton. You know, they won in Fenerbahce. Are you confident going into this game as a Newcastle fan? How are you seeing it from a Newcastle perspective? Should we be confident because we're at St. James's Park, or do we have to be really wary because of Villa's recent form that's been so strong?
Yeah, it's a good question, Pete, because obviously you look at the league table, and I think it would be naive to not be wary, because at the end of the day, Villa aren't where they are by accident. They're there because they deserve it. So I think we have to be mindful that, you know, Aston Villa are a very, very good team. But I hope that we go in with confidence because, as you rightly said, you know, at home we are a strong outfit. The biggest thing for me is, and I remember you saying this many years ago, Pete, you tend to know what Newcastle United you're going to get in the first couple of minutes. And if I don't see what I saw midweek in the Champions League, I'll be very disappointed. Very disappointed because to me, and somebody in the chat mentioned it earlier, like this game's huge. It's absolutely huge. If we've got any aspiration of, you know, getting into that top 5, even potentially, dare I say it, finishing above Aston Villa, we can't not win this game. You know, we've got to go into the game confident. We've got to go into the game hungry, and we've got to try and get the 3 points. Because I think anything but 3 points at home against many teams could be seen as a bit of a disappointment. And I put Villa right up there as well, because, you know, even if we were at home to Man City, if we were at home to Arsenal, if we were home to Liverpool, if we were home to whoever, I would expect a performance and I would expect us to give it a good go. So hearing that Rich isn't so confident about it, and I genuinely didn't know about that 2021 year record. Genuinely didn't know about it. So that is interesting. And I can see why, you know, maybe you're a bit hesitant, you know, in terms of being confident. But
I've been in Newcastle since 2012, like fully. I've been with my missus since 2004, and I've never, when I've been to St. James's Park to see Aston Villa against Newcastle, we have never won. And as I say, that's one victory I've tasted since in 21 years of me and my wife being together. So, you know, married and previously. So yeah, I'm not. Well, I've had a lot of heartache in this game. A lot of heartache.
And we hope there's just a little bit more. Just a little bit more.
What's another year? What's another year?
Yeah, what's another year? Exactly. That's what Villa fans all say. It's like, what's another year? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
There you go. But in all honesty, though, thinking about how you're playing this season, because you have played some very, very good football at times and gone some difficult grounds and beat some very, very good teams so far this season. What do you expect Unai Emery to do in terms of how he's going to set up the team? Do you think that Unai Emery is maybe going to set them up to be a little bit cautious, a little bit low block and counter, or is he going to come for us? Is he going to be like PSV have done, like Arsenal and Man City have done so far this season, and others that have come to St. James's Park and gone, no, we can go toe to toe with you, we can beat you, and come out sort of all guns blazing? What do you expect to see from Unai Emery's Villa on Sunday?
I think it'll be very structured in the way that he wants to play against Newcastle. Be very wary of the pace that you have in the wide areas, and he'll be very wary of, you know, whoever's playing in midfield, that sort of drive that you've got in midfield. I think he'll want to try and control the game as much as he can. He'll still play the ball out from the back. He'll still utilize that and maybe gamble on the fact that, there'll be times where we might put ourselves in a bit of trouble. There'll be times where you guys will put a lot of pressure on us, but he'll gamble on the fact that we might be able to spring a Morgan Rogers into like an area just inside his own half that he can get on the turn and just run at the heart of your defense. Yeah. Emi Buendia getting on the half turn to do the same thing. So there will be that, but it will be controlled. It won't be gung ho. And the one thing that we've done this season, particularly away from home, is we've scored some really good goals in terms of whether that be outside the box, whether that be structured passing moves. And we've also kept our heads, even if we've gone, 1-0 down, 2-0 down as well, particularly away from home. So I don't think there'll be any panic, but you know what it's like. And I've seen it so many times at St. James's Park. It's very, very difficult to keep a lid on the players and that ground if you get ahead of steam, if you get a goal. You guys might be able to tell me. It's one thing I haven't noticed as much from Newcastle this season. There has been games lately, like recently, where they've got that head of steam and they've gone 1, 2, 3 goals and really put it on team. But it hasn't been as much this season as I maybe expected at home. But on the converse thing with Villa, what I've noticed a lot this season is we've shown that character. We've gone 1-0 down. We've gone 2-0 down, particularly away from home, and we've won games. Tottenham, Leeds, Brighton, you name it. We've managed to do it. So that's something that I think it goes in our favour a bit as well for this game.
Yeah, absolutely. From sort of your point, Rich, is what you mentioned, and feel free to come in with this, Chris. We haven't really put a team to the sword at St. James's Park in the Premier League this season. I think when you've seen Newcastle do it, we've done it in the Champions League. We've done it to the last Athletic Club. We saw it on Wednesday night with PSV, which is probably arguably our best performance this season. Sort of at St. James's Park, with it being really comfortable and sort of dominating, obviously adding goals to that as well. We haven't really done it in the Premier League, and that's been the big frustration for us, even against the teams like your Villas and your Palace. Like, it was always still on a bit of a knife edge until we kind of got the winning goal or the second goal that kind of killed the game off. Obviously, Leeds last minute.
That was a mad game.
It was, and it was, looking back for us, it's an amazing game and a game we'll probably never really forget. But if we were on the other end of that, or if it finished 3-3, it would have been sort of very, very different in terms of where we saw that in our mind. So it can go very much either way. But would you agree with that, Chris? Like, are we waiting as Newcastle United fans to see that real big performance where we go and put 2 or 3 past the team in the Premier League and really sort of command and dominate that game? Is that what we're waiting for right now?
Yeah, I'd say so. We've seen glimpses of it this season. We've seen it in patches in games, but we've yet to see it from start to finish, a bit like what we saw midweek against PSV, because we were in total control. And the fact that it is at home, like we were in midweek. But do you know what? Like, and people always say that, like, this is a cliche, don't they? In terms of like, this is where you set your marker. How many times this season, Peter, have we gone, this is where we kick on? We've got the result. Let's go and kick on. But this game in itself could be huge for us in terms of like setting the tone, because obviously we had the big game against PSV. But if we play Villa at St. James's Park at the weekend, and let's say, I'm not suggesting we will, but let's say we go and repeat PSV and we go and win 3-0. Everyone in the Premier League's then going, ooh, have Newcastle arrived? Is this the time now when Newcastle kick on? I mean, we're doing quite well in the Premier League at the moment. Like, we're in a good run. I was surprised. I was talking to our Callum before. I was looking at the form league, and I think we're 3rd in the form league in the Premier League, behind Brentford and Arsenal, which is probably no surprise. So it shows we're doing well in the Premier League at the moment. But it's whether or not we can continue that. And we know, Pete, because we've discussed it many a time, we've got a really, really difficult few weeks coming up. Really, really difficult. Not more so than on Sunday. It starts on Sunday for me, but it's whether or not we stand up and we're counted. Because, like I say, I can't even envisage us going to St James's Park on Sunday and coming away with like a defeat, because then it would almost just be like, oh God, we're back to square one, we're back to where we were before, and all of a sudden you quickly cast aside the PSV results because you're going, but we're back here again. And I think it's important that Eddie Howe gets the tactics right. It's important he gets the lineup right, which hopefully we'll be discussing in due course. Yeah. But yeah, it's a huge game. It's a really, really huge game. And I just hope that we carry a bit of momentum in from midweek and we go and put on a really big performance, because we really need to. We really, really do.
It's those results that are coming, and the fact that a lot of them are away. So we almost need to build our momentum into those games with good home performances and wins. So we've done that with PSV. You know, can we do it with Aston Villa? And then we've got PSG away on Wednesday, and then Liverpool at Anfield next Saturday. And then it just really kicks into a horrible sort of February month where we've got fixture after fixture, and not to mention that
yeah, that's an FA Cup game as well. Yeah.
The Villa Park game for the FA Cup, you know, later on in that month. So, you know, it is absolutely massive, and we definitely need a little bit of a momentum booster to really kickstart this really difficult run of fixtures. I know we've got some questions and comments that we'll come to probably after the tactics board. We've got 350 watching live right now, so great to have everybody with us on a Friday night. We don't normally do Friday match previews, so appreciate everyone spending their Friday evening with us. If you haven't clicked like yet, let's get that like. Let's get those likes up. If we can click that now, that would be amazing, and it helps the channel. And if you're on X, come over to YouTube, give us a like, come and join the chat. We've got fantastic mods and people in the chat. We're having great discussions. Get involved with all of that as well as we are continuing on live. I'm going to come to the tactics board because I want you to set up your team, Rich. I want you to tell us what you think is going to be the starting 11. Now, I know you just mentioned a second ago that they did make some changes to the game on Sunday, and I think you have mentioned just a second ago that there were some updates on potential players being available. So Onana is available for the game.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to mention, like, are there any others that are back? Any others that you think might not make?
I think Martinez should be back. He wasn't mentioned in Emery's press conference. Right. But I'll assume Martinez is in goal. So we'll go with Emi Martinez in goal. Although, you know, as number 2 goalkeepers go in recent years for Villa, Marco Bizot has been fantastic for us.
Am I right? Man of the match last night.
Yeah, he made some cracking saves in the second half.
He was really.
I mean, I think he's probably been involved in one defeat maybe this season when he's come in, but we had the Brighton game, we won 4-3. He had to come in last minute against them. He came on at half time against Crystal Palace with a 0-0. He started against Tottenham in the FA Cup. We won 2-1. So you know, we had Robin Olsen before, and he was just awful, but it shows you how important a good
when Robin Olsen was a goal, we used to
mate, honestly. But it shows you how important a good number 2 goalkeeper is, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
I will mention with Marco Bizot, if we rewind quite rightly to the first game of the season, he actually played when Martinez was suspended.
Yes.
And he made 2 or 3 fantastic saves, including the one from Alanga, and I think there might have been one from Gordon as well. That effectively kept you guys in the game at that point. I think that was before you had 10 men. I think you made a couple of saves in the second half as well. So we do remember how effective he can be in goal. And that's what I wanted to ask you. I wasn't sure whether you would revert back to Martinez or because of the sort of man of the match performance from Marco Bizot, whether he would be given the opportunity to start again. But run through your team and then
we'll go through it. Yeah, so it'd be, I'd say Martinez in goal, then Cash at right back.
Yeah.
Then we'll have Ezri Konsa and Pau Torres as the centre backs. They were both rested yesterday.
Yeah.
And then we'll have, I think it'll be Ian Matson at left back. I think he's got that number one left back spot now from Luka Dean. And then I think it will be, if it'll be Yuri Tillemans and Amadou Onana as the two sitting midfielders.
Yeah.
And then I would imagine, it's difficult to say. It'll definitely be Buendia and Rodgers.
I was going to ask if it was going to be Harvey Elliott there.
Are they sort of right and left? Well, I was looking at the squad, and officially he is still named on your squad. Now that's why I left him in there.
No, he is. But he won't play. He won't play. Emery's made the decision. Yeah.
Just really quickly for those that might be watching, any Newcastle fan that's watching, what has been the situation? Just really quickly with Harvey Elliott, because obviously he had a fantastic Euros. He was brilliant. Lots of teams were interested in him, including Newcastle at the time that were linked. Yeah. We covered him too. Why is that not worked out? Why will he eventually go back to Liverpool? Well, what's been the situation, mate?
So the official word is, well, actually, the deal was he was signed on a loan with an obligation to buy at £35 million as and when Harvey Elliott made 10 appearances for Aston Villa. Now, he's made 4 appearances for Aston Villa in his time, and then he hasn't been utilised since. Now, when the reasons for that decision, Unai Emery basically said he just doesn't see him fit in with the team, and he's a great player, but just doesn't have him moulding as a player for Villa in that sense, and doesn't want to waste the player's time, doesn't want to waste Villa's time and money, because it's 35 million by using him. Doesn't want to sort of go, here, have another 5 games and get to 9 games and then not utilize him.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the situation from Emery's perspective. The reasons for that could just be simple, that he just doesn't fancy him as a player. He's seeing him in training, doesn't see him fitting in. And, you know, how tight we are with PSR and everything like that, doesn't want to then risk the 35 million on it. The other side of it could be him and the director of football or head of football operations, the previous one, Monchi, had a bit of a falling out, didn't see eye to eye on a few things. Okay. So whether he was a Monchi signing and Unai Emery didn't want it and didn't sanction it, it could be a little bit of that. My estimate is probably a little bit of both. That's my thought. And unfortunately for Harvey Elliott, he's played for Liverpool this season and he's played for Aston Villa this season, so he can't go on loan to another club in Europe. So he has to potentially go to the MLS. And Aston Villa old manager Dean Smith is the manager of Charlotte FC, and he's put in a bid. He's put in a bid for him. Is that enough for Harvey Elliott to kind of keep himself in the shop window? I don't know. Could they sweeten the deal for him in terms of money and just sort of help him out till the end of the season? Possibly, but that would kiss good. I mean, he's not got a chance playing for England right now anyway, but that would kiss goodbye to any chance of that. But it would give him minutes and it would give him some time to play. But that's the story of Harvey Elliott, really. It's a bit of a shame, really, because you look at the bench that we had on Sunday, and I'm all for utilising young players, don't get me wrong, but when you're scraping around, you've sold Daniel Marlon and Jadon Sancho was ill on Sunday, and you got no options on the bench other than a couple of youth players. You think, well, bloody hell, Harvey Elliott could have at least been used on the bench, but he won't play him.
Crazy.
So sorry. That's fair. That's fair. What I would probably say is Tielemans will go. I wouldn't do it, but I think this might happen. I think Tielemans might go further forward, and I think Lamar Bogard might play in that midfield position.
Okay, he has come in and been playing all right in that midfield role, that sort of holding role. So would it be something like that?
Yes, and then Ollie Watkins up front, obviously.
Okay. I did put Alisson, the new Brazilian signing, I believe. You got the young lad in. It had him in as not being registered, but I think that might have been because it was the Euro.
No, he is registered, but he has had, whether it's just to do with the intensity of the training, whether it's to do with just kind of acclimatizing to the surroundings. He did say, Emery said that he wanted to put him in the squad for last week against Everton, but he picked up a little bit of a knock. So I don't know whether that's just protecting him and stuff and just keeping him in it. You know, it takes a lot for these type of players to get used to the surroundings, get used to the intensity of the training and all that. So I don't think we'll see much of him in the near future. But that's what I think. That's what I think will start. I was toying with the idea whether someone like Sancho would start on the right hand side or someone like Leon Bailey would start, but I just don't think he'll throw them in straight away, particularly against Newcastle. I think he'll go a little bit more conservative with the lineup.
I'm just looking at your team really quickly before I ask Chris to do the Newcastle one. And obviously you put Onana, Bogard and Tielemans in the team, but then I'm just looking at the three there, Kamara, Ross Barkley and McGinn, that are all injured. I'm thinking you haven't really got a midfielder off the bench as another option. So you're probably asking them to do full 90s. I mean, I don't know. It could well be that that's the case, but that would be interesting from a Newcastle perspective if that was the team. So I'm looking at not less than
we've got a young lad called very, very highly rated young player called George Hemmings.
Yes, I did see him come off the bench. He wasn't on the squad list that I had on Transfermarkt, but yeah, he has been good. Sorry.
No, mate. I was just going to agree with Rich there when he was talking about Hemmings. He came on. I was watching the Villa game last weekend, and he came on and he did really well. He really impressed me. I thought he looked very composed.
I think we got him from Nottingham Forest. I think a lot of clubs are after him. It's always one of these 15, 16-year-olds that go for like 3 million or something. But yeah, I think he's I mean, out of necessity, really. He's had to maybe feature in a couple of games, but he's got that, a bit like Miley, got that sort of arrogance about him that where he wants to get on the ball. You know, you're looking for that in young players where they're demanding the ball rather than just sort of waiting for it to come to them. And he's kind of got that attitude about him. So yeah, I think you're right though, Pete. I think it will probably most likely. I mean, Onana he's brilliant, right? He's been brilliant for us this season, but can he play 10 games in a row? Absolutely not. And that's the problem with Onana. His body just doesn't let him do it, but he's fantastic when he's firing. So we definitely need him. But yeah, he could effectively take Lamar Bogard off, drop Tielemans back into that more defensive midfield position, and then he could go with like Sancho or Bailey, and then probably again take off Buendia and put one of those two attacking players on. So he has got one or two options. He has got Evan Gesson as an option as well. You know, he can play in a more of a defensive minded right winger sort of role where he kind of helps back with cash. So that could be an option. So we have actually got some decent bodies on the bench now, as opposed to being forced to use younger players. You know, Lindelof's done brilliantly when he's been a great free transfer signing for us. So that's the benefit as well. So we've got decent options. It's just like you said, you know, losing two players in for different reasons, but so important in John McGinn and Boubacar Kamara is massive for us, unfortunately. But you guys, you know, you've got Bruno, who looks like he's out for a little bit as well, who's a massive player for you. So it is one of these things that you get injuries, and unfortunately you have to deal with them.
Absolutely. Chris, I'll come to you then with the Newcastle team. We obviously made one or two changes for the Champions League game against PSV. Are we going to change back? Are we going to make some changes with PSG away on Wednesday and Liverpool away on Saturday in mind? Where do you see this first 11 going, and who are you going to select, mate?
Yeah. So for me, I want, and I hope Eddie feels the same. I want to put the strongest 11 out as possible. So I think we go strong. Although I will be not selecting one particular player. And you're right in what you say, Pete. I think it's with PSG in mind, in the slim hope that maybe they can be back for PSG. So yeah, I'll be honest, Pete. You know, we've protected players this season. We've been very, very cautious, very, very careful, and maybe rightly so. but there will come a point where it's like you've just got to go all in. And this period for me does actually feel like that as well. And maybe, who knows, is this where the consistency comes from? If you're asking players to keep going to the well, keep them fit, keep them fresh as best you can, but you keep starting them. And if you can rest them, if you can, rest the legs for 20 minutes, half an hour, brilliant, but you start them. I think there's only so long that you can do the whole rotation game. So for me, I'm going strong, Pete. And obviously, as always, I would like you to critique. So in goal will be Nick Pope.
Okay. Yeah. I think that goes without saying now. Number
Absolutely.
one.
Absolutely. Left back, I expected to be Lewis Hall.
Yeah. One of the first names on the team sheet now, Lewis Hall. I fully expect him to, we talked about it the other day, fully expecting to be picked for England in March and start for England in March, although it'll be a lot of football he'll be playing recently, but superb at the moment.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. Sorry, go on, Chris. But
No.
Love watching him. He's a good player, really good player.
Totally agree, lads. Totally agree. He's creeping up to being one of, if not my favourite player, Lewis Hall. He's been outstanding, really, really good. And it's not just because we've got the same name. Centre backs, I think he'll stick the same. I think it'll be Sven Botman, left centre back. I think it'll be Malik Chow, right centre back. A really, really strong pairing in the centre of defence. And right back, I expect it to be Kieran Trippier. And who would have thought it? 3 games in a row starting. But yeah, I think it will be Kieran Trippier. Now, some may say, would we play Louis Miley there? But you will soon find out. I don't think Louis Miley will be playing there. Left side of midfield. This is the most difficult one for me is the midfield. And it's how we set up, or it's where certain players play position wise. So you may change this, Pete, but for me, I would keep Joe Litton on the left, bring that consistency. In the 6, I would play Sandro Tonali, who showed a little glimpses of returning to form. So hopefully that is the case.
Yeah,
and on the right side of midfield, I think it will be Louis Miley.
Okay, Louis Miley.
I was torn, and maybe you'll bring this in, Pete. I was thinking to myself, do we start Jacob Ramsey? Do we just throw him in there? And then I was like, I don't know. Is it going to be a bit too emotional? I'm not sure. So I thought I've gone with Louis Miley anyway, given that it's such an important game. Left wing, I think will be Anthony Gordon.
Yeah.
Centre forward, I think is going to be. I think we'll go against the grain here. I think it will be Johan Visser.
Okay.
I think he will start him again, particularly after his exploits during the week. Now, again, this one, we saw Anthony Elanga get, a big cheer from the crowd at St James's Park, which was great to see. However, there's one man at the moment, other than Lewis Hall, who is undroppable. It's Harvey Barnes.
He always scores against Villa as well.
That's great to hear.
I know it. Yeah.
Well, we're known to have Eddie Howe,
even when he was at Leicester,
listening to this. So we've heard through the grapevine that Eddie Howe does listen into this.
Just rest him, Eddie. Just rest him. He doesn't need to play.
Eddie, you've just heard from our opposition, Rich Villa fan, say he always scores against Villa. So Eddie, you know what to do. You know what to do on Sunday. That is
rest him for PSG. That's what you need to do, mate.
Love it. But you know what? With regards to the Newcastle team, the back five, I would say, I've got no qualms with, and I think we'll start. Obviously, Hall's played a lot of minutes, so we do need to look after him. But he does look a lot fitter. He is lasting 90 minutes now, which is a good sign. He doesn't look like he's flagging at any point in the game now, whereas he did when he just come back from his hamstring injury. Kieran Trippier looks good. I think he's managing himself through the game. So he's not bombing forward and getting involved in attacks as much as he needs to be, but he's doing that so he's got the energy to last games. He's just got such good experience to see through games. The midfield 3, I haven't got a problem with this. I will put it out there. Don't be surprised to see Bruno Guimaraes start on Sunday. Don't be surprised. I would not be surprised. Listen to Eddie Howe's press conference.
I haven't heard it, Pete. What did he say?
Well, in a nutshell, he's saying he's going to give him every chance to be involved on Sunday, which it doesn't tell me that it's going to be an injury that's going to be long term. You kind of get the gist of how Eddie Howe talks, and whether you think it's going to be a little bit worse or a little bit more serious than what it is. I talked on our reaction show to the game about a few years ago when he got injured and came off against Fulham, and he was in a protective boot, and we were all like hands on head. And then literally 7 days later, he was starting and played the full game against Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. Like he has this knack of doing it. He hates missing games. Would I look after him for this particular game? I probably would, because I think that midfield is still
I was just gonna say the last thing you want, and this is nothing to do with like he's a great player, but with the games that you guys have got coming up as well, like if he started and he got injured after 20 minutes and then made it worse and was out for 4 games after that, that would be pretty damning for you guys. But yeah, he's one of those players, isn't he, that he'll it's like a McGinn or something. They'd have to literally have bloody cruciate ligament damage or something to miss a game, and that's the thing with those type of players. But it's one of those things, isn't it? And
where we've strengthened this summer, we shouldn't need to be in that position to do so. Obviously, Bruno's an exceptional player, had a great season, but I'm looking at that midfield there, and I'm looking at Miley coming in. I'm thinking the way Miley's playing at the moment, like that's still a very strong midfield that can actually still go and win that game, which I wouldn't have an issue with. That maybe changes my thoughts, because I actually thought that they might play Jacob Ramsey for this one on the left of the midfield three. I thought they would, but if Bruno Guimaraes isn't playing, I think then they have to play Joe Linton, because Joe Linton has been nothing short of an absolute monster in the last 4, 5 to 6 games since he's come back in from injury. He had a groin injury, and he hadn't had a good start to the season the first half. But since he's come back in after his injury, he's been absolutely brilliant. He's getting better and better every game. But this probably would have been a game where I might have rotated him, just because I think one of the things that we struggle with is our ball possession against Villa. Yeah. We need players that are good on the ball, but actually the way I think Villa might set up might actually suit Joe Linton better to play this game. So I think if Bruno's not playing, you have to start Joe Linton. And if you're starting Joe Linton, you're playing Louis Miley on the right-hand side, because Louis Miley will do this. He'll look to come in here and add absolutely protection, because he plays right back anyway and has been. He knows that role, so he'll come in and be that protector there, which I think Willock and Ramsey on the right-hand side wouldn't maybe do as effectively, because they're more left-sided midfield three players. So I think Miley will come in for that reason. The one thing I'll maybe change, Chris, is I think Baltimore will play.
Yeah, do you know what, Pete? It's a funny one. It's a really, really funny one, because we've seen this, and you're quite right to say this, because we've seen Johan Visser start and Baltimore start and Johan Visser start. But I don't know, especially because the PSV game for me, it just felt like Johan Visser's moment, and I thought, is it about keeping that momentum going? But I wouldn't be opposed to Nick Baltimore starting. But yeah, go on, mate. Carry on. Sorry.
The only reason I say it is because I actually think he'll want Johan Visser to play against PSG, and I think that's what he'll plan to do, because he's still managing Johan Visser's minutes. He's obviously still in the early stages of coming back into fitness. I thought he was brilliant against PSV. But I think he's going to save him for PSG. And I think Nick Baltimore getting a start, he is better at home. There's no doubt about it. He gets more chances at home. And another thing as well is his aerial threat, which Eddie Howe is very, very keen on. I'm looking around Villa's team, and I'm thinking, like, set pieces, particularly defending set pieces. So Villa on the attack. Watkins is good in the air. He's already scored a few and looked dangerous. Scored against Chelsea. Nearly scored yesterday. You've got Rodgers that's good. You've got the physicality of Onana. You've got the physicality and the ability of Konza and Pau Torres. They're all decent in the air. So I'm looking around and I'm thinking, we need to match that with the likes of Botman, Chow, Joe Linton. Nick Voltemade comes in that with regards to his aerial presence, not just defensively, but also in attack, because we know he is good in the air, and given the right service, he can score from his head in the box, and he will add that extra bit of physicality. And I think we might go down that route with then the idea of bringing in Yaran Visa to then play later on in the game. Maybe when Villa start to tire, he's got that running in and behind late on in games, and I think that might be part of the tactic in there. But I could be wrong. It's just my thoughts really on what I think may happen potentially. So we'll wait and see on that one. But any last things from you, Rich, with regards to Newcastle setup tactics before I put it off the screen?
I think you guys have got a good side, like a really good side. When I've watched you, and I mentioned about that sort of, that sort of not quite putting teams to bed, not quite got that sort of, I guess, that relentlessness that you've had before, but also there has been a bit of a, I'm trying to think what the word is, but that Leeds game, for an example, Leeds were piling forward and getting through your midfield and getting at your defence quite readily and quite easily. And there was maybe a bit of openness that maybe hasn't been there in the past. So I just don't know if you guys have noticed that as much, and what's been the cause of that. Like, have players been moving around in midfield, been leaving their position? Have you been giving the ball away in areas? Like, it'd just be interested to know what happens, because I've not really a part of Newcastle that I haven't seen before, but it just does seem like they're giving away quite a fair few chances at present. And even in home games, you look at Chelsea game, 2-0 up at half time, cruising, concede 2 goals in the second half, and it's 2-2, and you nearly get beat. It's just happened a few times. It's interesting to know that, because obviously Morgan Rogers in that position against Trippier, if he targets that area, that's going to be dangerous. Onana running through midfield, Tielemans with through balls or whatever. That's going to be an area where Villa are going to look to exploit.
The one thing I'll say on that is I think one of the things that we need to be better at, and we were better at it on Wednesday against PSV, is keeping the ball in midfield, just needlessly giving the ball away. So Tonali has been up until the last couple of games been a big victim of that, just giving the ball away needlessly with a simple pass. I think that's where Miley will be really effective in that, because Bruno sometimes does it as well, but Miley is always really not cautious, because he's not a cautious player, but he always has a calmness about him and plays the right pass and is comfortable in possession. Tonali being better at that helps. Joe Linton's been better at that recently. I think Joe Linton was probably one of the best passers of our midfield on Wednesday, which is not really one of his strengths. No. So I think that's an area that we need to be better in, is if we're going to have a little bit of the ball, keeping it and making sure we're not needlessly giving it away for you to transition, because you guys will be deadly on the transition. We know that ball over the top for Watkins, Malik Chow and Botman are going to have to be aware of it, because that long ball has been getting you a lot of success with them Rogers and Buendia running on in support. We have to be aware of that. So keeping the ball and making good use of it is going to be important, I would say. The other one is really kind of set pieces. Just being good at set pieces and making sure that we're defending them well, which is why I think Voltemade coming in may well help with that. What I will say about giving away chances, we are actually second in the league in a positive way, that we're only second to Arsenal in terms of XG conceded. So like chances conceded in games, we are actually one of the best. Nick Pope in a lot of games doesn't necessarily have a lot to do. I mean, if you watch the Leeds game, you'd have thought, now Newcastle defence are all over the place and conceding loads of goals, but they're really the anomalies. We don't concede massive amounts of chances in games, and there was a stat around a couple of weeks ago that had on Newcastle, and Newcastle basically every time we conceded a chance, we're effectively getting punished by it. Like, we weren't conceding loads of chances. It was like we concede 2 chances, and it was kind of like that. So we have been a little unlucky, but look, we'll see on that. I think it's going to be an absolute battle. For me, this is game of the weekend. There's no doubt about it. A massive one. Right. I know we're really stuck for time. We're really tight for time, and we're going to wrap in just a few minutes. Is there one or two key questions that have popped in the chat, Chris, that you want to quickly fire at Rich before we get Rich's prediction, before we sign off the show?
Yeah, brilliant, mate. Absolutely. So DXLE asks you, Rich, how much will it take to get Morgan Rogers, and how much longer can you hold on to him? Where do you think he will end up?
Good question. I think anything north of 100 million, and Villa would 100% be considering that. He's the next, I guess, big signing for a club, big profit maker for Aston Villa. And I mean, he would be probably the next one. Obviously, Kamara, who's injured, signing for a free. You'd probably make decent profit on him if he can stay fit. But yeah, Morgan Rogers is the next one. What would it take to keep him? I guess Champions League football, a trophy this season, would certainly put us in good stead with it. I think we've recently extended his deal. That's more to protect the asset. But I mean, I've been on here so many times. Any player's got their price, and you move on from it. So I think anything north of 100 million, I think Villa would definitely consider it.
And also, Rich, this is an interesting one for me. I don't know, Pete, if you know this, but Sophie B says, what happened with Tielemans and Unai last night? I didn't see anything.
People were blaming Tielemans for it, but it was Unai. It was
Unai.
He puts his hand out to shake Unai Emery's hand, and Unai Emery's like pushing him. He's just one of these Basque Spanish managers, isn't he? He just gets in the zone. I was doing like a watch along, and I seen it, and I was like, a few people in the comments were like, it was because he didn't walk off slowly, he jogged off, and I think he wanted him to waste more time. But then other people were saying that it's because he got a yellow card and he wasn't happy that he got a yellow card. But I'm leaning more towards the former, that he put the sub up to kind of kill the game a bit, and Tielemans running up and he's going, "No, I meant for you to walk off, you idiot! Like, what are you doing?" But it's all out enough. It's all nothing. Like, I know people are trying to make more out of it, but I wish I'm an old school. All these people who are like, "Oh, you shouldn't have done it. You got to think of the player." Like, nah, you got to give players rollickins when they need it. More of it, I say.
Yeah. Why not? Very quick on. I know the answer to this one, Mitch, but Sophie asked you, are you going the game?
I am. Yes, I'll be going up those steps. It's almost as many steps to the Wetherspoons toilet, isn't there, than Newcastle's away end. Yeah, I'll be going up there.
Good man. And the last one I'm going to ask you is from Geordie Toon for Life. In fact, before I'd say this, Foxy always drops a young player out in the future, so I'm just going to throw him to you. Villa fans should be excited about Brian Maggio, who's a 17-year-old who looks 30. I haven't seen him.
I did add him in the squad for the.
Yeah, he's apparently the new Lukaku. He's born in Enfield in England, but then moved to Luxembourg with his parents, and then has 3 caps for Luxembourg, but has changed allegiance back to England, and has featured for Metz in Ligue 1 this season as well. Played 5 games as a 16-year-old in Ligue 1, but he was 17 last week, so they announced the signing on his 17th birthday. But I think it's 12 million euros we've signed him for. And 17 years of age, 6'3", built like an absolute monster. But I don't know whether he'll feature much this season. But he's England under 17s at the minute he's been in. So I'd expect him, if he does trouble the first team, he'll be in under 21s in no time, I'd imagine.
Wow. One to keep an eye on.
Yeah. I'm gonna hold. Oh, I was going to say another question because I'm thinking of time for you, Chris. That was one.
Oh, yeah. I'm just going to read one more comment out. That's it. I like this one from Geordie Toon for Life. And he says, Rich, how are you going to feel when Nancy scores the winner?
When he scores the winner, is that what we're doing now? Is that what we're doing now?
Fingers crossed.
Oh, it'll be.
But yeah, that's it. That's it for the questions anyway.
I'll be gutted anyway. Well, there'll be a sense of resignation because we kind of know what's going to happen. But yeah, that would rub a bit of salt in the wound. My son went with me probably 2, maybe 3 years ago. I think it wasn't the 5-1. It was the one before that. I think it was a 4-0 absolute pasting. And then we came out the ground and I was like, I think it's his first away game. I was like, son, I know you want to support Villa, but you're a Geordie. You go to school in Walker, blah, blah, blah. You can change the team. You can support Newcastle if you like. I'm not going to judge you. But I don't mind. He's like, no, Dad, I'm Villa all the way, he says. But can I have the day off school on Monday?
Oh, bless you.
You're like, of course you can. You're Villa. Of course you can.
He's like, you made the right choice.
You made the right choice. But I didn't let him have the day off. I was like, no, you've got to face your friends. You've got to face it. We all have to do it. Got to do it. And now, sorry, I know we've got to finish, but now he says his friends at school now say he's a Glory supporter because he supports Aston Villa. Now that is something to say, isn't it?
Jesus,
that was put a smile on your face hearing that.
Yeah.
I was like, we've been through a lot of years of pain to be called a Glory supporter, Aidan.
Yeah, God, yeah.
No Newcastle fans should be calling Villa Glory supporters. We've both been through the mess, and we're both doing well. I want to finish up with predictions. So I'm gonna give my prediction first. I think this is going to be a Desmond 2-2. I think I'm going to say it's going to be a 2-2 draw. I normally miss the positive and go for the win. I hope we do. I think it's going to be a draw in my opinion. Rich, as the away fan, what do you think?
No, I think it will be. There will be goals in it. I think it's going to be a very good game. But I'm going to agree with Sophie there. I do think you guys will just pip us, and I think it'll be a 3-2 Newcastle victory. Unfortunately for me, but yeah, I think you'll win.
Okay.
So there's you go. You go.
I feel bad going for the draw now. I'm normally missed the positive. I might change it and go with Aaron. I might go with Aaron 2-1 win, just to give that positivity a little bit more of a kick. But Chris, finally, what's the score going to be in your opinion?
I was just about to say my score hasn't appeared in the chat, but it just has. Lempton, I think it'll be 3-1 Newcastle. There you go. Geordie Team for Life agrees as well. Yeah, I think 3-1 Newcastle. I was thinking back to the game we were speaking about earlier. I remember exactly where I was. I was in a particular pub in London on Gloucester Road watching the game with one of my mates in work, and it was 3-1. So I'm going to stick with 3-1. I think it'll be 3-1.
3-1. There you have it, people. They are the predictions. Rich, massive thanks for you coming and joining us. For those that don't know, go and subscribe to Villa Park Pod. Rich and the team there are fantastic with their content. Go and give them a watch and hear their analysis and their analysis of the game on Sunday or Monday, whenever you do your review. But massive thanks for you joining, Rich. Pleasure, and hopefully we'll have you on Top Table Talk. Next week.
One of us will be wearing shades, or well, maybe if it's a draw, obviously both of us won't. But
yeah. We can both wear the shade hands.
Yeah, we can both wear the shades. But yeah, we'll be back. Top Table Talk. We'll be back next week. And then I'll probably be back on for the FA Cup game as well. We won't be able to get rid of me.
Yeah.
We'll get a preview in. Let's make the most of it because it's great to have you on. Brilliant guy. Great knowledge on all things football as well. So it's a pleasure to have you, Rich. It's great to have you as part of the channel. But people, boys, we are out of here. We've got things to do. Traitors final, other things. Chris has got football. Traitors final, all the rest of it. And of course, we need to make our wives very happy that we're not on pods all night, every night. But everyone, go and click those likes. If you're coming over from X, give us a like, give us a hype once the show's finished, and we'll be back for more with a reaction to this big game on Sunday evening. Keep an eye out for that. But until then, we're going to sign out with the man that we hope is fit and ready to play on Sunday. Whether he is or not, we're not sure. But our captain, Bruno Guimaraes. You guys take care. Speak to you soon.
'Cause sooner or later in life, the things you love, you lose. But you've got the love I need to see me through. You got the love, you got the love.